Greetings, my name is Carolyn, and my life was forever changed the day my husband, Stephen, left me to care for his ailing parents while he embarked on a 3-year holiday. Little did I know, his return would be nothing more than an attempt to claim his inheritance. What he didn't anticipate, however, was that destiny had other plans, leading to a satisfying and sweet form of revenge. When Stephen and I first met, I believed we shared something profound. Our relationship began after I lost my first husband to cancer, spending 6 years in mourning. It was my friends who encouraged me to try dating again. After some time chatting online, Stephen and I decided to meet in person, and it wasn't long before our dates led to his proposal 3 years later. Stephen made a point of including my daughter, Teresa, in every aspect of our lives. Teresa, who was just 5 when her biological father died, quickly formed a close bond with Stephen. The two became inseparable, and for me, it felt like a dream come true. We envisioned a future filled with grand dreams, raising Teresa, buying our own home, and traveling the world. But 8 years into our marriage, Stephen's parents, Judy and Roy, fell seriously ill, requiring constant care and medical attention. It was then that Stephen approached me with a difficult request. "Carolyn, I need to talk to you about something important," Stephen said, his voice tinged with nervousness. "What is it, Stephen?" I asked, sensing the seriousness in his tone. "You know my parents aren't doing well," he began. "They need a lot of care, and neither one of them can take care of the other." "I understand," I said, my voice filled with empathy. "It's heartbreaking, and I wish there was something more we could do." "That's just it, Carolyn," he replied. "They're my parents, and I can't turn my back on them. I need your help." "I know, Stephen," I said. "That's why I thought we could put them in a nursing home. They'd get the care they need, and if cost is an issue, we'll manage somehow." "It's not about the cost," he said, hesitating. "I was thinking of something else." "What are you suggesting?" I asked, already bracing myself for something difficult. "Could we have them move in with us? I want to take care of them, but I need your help." I hesitated, feeling overwhelmed. Between work, taking care of Teresa, and everything else, it already felt like a lot. But Stephen reassured me. "Don't worry, Carolyn," he said. "You won't have to handle everything alone. I'll be here, putting in as much work as you are. I promise." Convinced by his words, I agreed. "Okay, let's do it. I care about Judy and Roy, and Teresa would love to have her grandparents close by." "Thank you, Carolyn. I won't let you down," Stephen promised. Having cared for my late husband, I wasn't unfamiliar with the demands of caregiving. Judy, suffering from a severe autoimmune disease, was bedridden and needed specialized care. Roy, with a chronic heart condition, required constant monitoring. Their health quickly became our top priority, and at first, Stephen seemed committed to sharing the burden with me. But over time, things began to change. The sleepless nights, hospital visits, and constant demands of caregiving took their toll on both of us. Yet, we pushed forward. But as weeks turned into months, Stephen's dedication waned. His missed medical appointments and growing disinterest became hard to ignore. It felt like I was the only one carrying the weight. 3 years into this caregiving journey, Stephen announced yet another business trip, this one lasting 3 weeks. That was the final straw. "How can you just leave us now, Stephen? Your parents need us, and you're walking away like it doesn't matter," I exclaimed, frustration bubbling over. "Oh, here we go again," Stephen shot back. "Why am I always painted as the villain? I have important work to do. It's not like I'm abandoning them forever." Teresa, upset, chimed in. "Dad, you can't keep doing this. Grandma and Grandpa need us, and you're always gone. It's not fair. Do you think I enjoy this? Do you think I don't understand the situation?" Stephen retorted, his voice defensive. "I have responsibilities too." "Responsibilities?" I questioned. "What responsibilities? You've been absent for so long. Meanwhile, your parents are getting worse, and you seem to not care. How dare you say that?" "I'm trying to balance everything, my career, our family." "It's not easy managing it all," Stephen argued. "It's not about balancing, Dad. It's about prioritizing. You should be here when your family needs you the most, but instead, you're always putting yourself first, Teresa said, her voice filled with emotion. I'm doing this for us. For a better future. Stephen claimed, but his words seemed hollow. A better future by abandoning your parents in their time of need? I countered. You're tearing this family apart. Teresa stood by my side, defending me. Mom has been here the whole time, taking care of Grandma and Grandpa. You're the one who's been absent. Teresa's right, Stephen. I've done everything I could to care for your parents, I said, my heart heavy. I thought you'd be here with me, but I was wrong. It was then I realized I had been carrying the weight alone for too long. The scales were tipping, and I was no longer going to let him walk away from his responsibilities. I said, my voice thick with sorrow, perhaps I'm tired of always putting others first. Maybe it's time I start prioritizing my own needs for once. It looks like you'll have to manage without me. Stephen's tone grew sharp, and his resolve was clear. Is this it then? You're just walking away from your parents? I asked, disbelief clouding my words. It's time I take a step back and reassess everything, Stephen said firmly. This isn't the life I envisioned for myself. I need space to think. Without another word, Stephen retreated to our bedroom, hastily packing his things. His departure left a deep void, a stark reminder of the growing fractures in our family. Teresa and I sat in silence, watching him go. After Stephen left, guilt washed over me in waves. I wondered if I was the cause of his decision, if somehow my actions had pushed him to this point. Night after night, Teresa and I cried, reaching out to him in hopes of reconciliation, but our efforts were in vain. What was supposed to be a short 3-week trip turned into months, further deepening our sorrow.
Judy and Roy, devastated by their son's absence, saw their health decline even more, and my role as their sole caregiver became even more taxing. Hospital visits, managing medications, and keeping up with the household became my new normal. As months turned into a year, I resolved to move past my grief over Stephen's absence. My focus shifted entirely to caring for Judy and Roy, supporting Teresa, and navigating the overwhelming responsibilities that came with it. Though the weight was heavy, I found a surprising strength in the process. In Stephen's absence, I became the pillar of resilience for Judy, Roy, and Teresa. Over time, I grew in my caregiving role, becoming not only their family by marriage, but their primary caregiver and unwavering supporter. Our bond deepened, rooted in my dedication to their well-being. Teresa, despite her youth, proved to be an incredible source of support, offering empathy and comfort that transcended her years. Together, we formed a sanctuary of love amidst the chaos. 3 years after Stephen walked away, driven by his greed, he returned, seeking the inheritance left by his parents. However, he was unaware that things had changed during his absence. Judy and Roy, recognizing my commitment and love, had entrusted me with managing their finances and legal matters. They decided that the estate, originally intended for Stephen, would now go to Teresa and me. It was a profound gesture of trust and gratitude for all I had done, a decision that solidified our family bond and prepared us to face Stephen's return head-on. The journey had transformed us, drawing us closer and solidifying our commitment to one another above all else. I went above and beyond, not just fulfilling their requests but adding my own touch of care and attention, making me feel truly valued in the process. During the countless hours I spent reorganizing their documents and ensuring their comfort, I knew I was doing the right thing. Despite the circumstances, I wasn't inclined to leave Stephen with nothing. I understood the pressure caregiving could place on someone, and I thought it fair to offer him a modest portion of the inheritance as a gesture of goodwill. However, that decision was quickly overturned when the private investigator I had hired uncovered Stephen's actions during his absence. My choice to hire a detective wasn't made lightly. I had grown increasingly suspicious of Stephen's motives long before he left, especially as his disinterest in his parents grew and his excuses mounted. Trusting my instincts, I sought the truth, and what I discovered confirmed my worst fears. I decided to dig deeper. My investigation into our financial dealings uncovered several unexplained transactions made to an unidentified account. When I confronted Stephen about these findings, it sparked one of our most heated arguments. Stephen, we need to talk, I began, my voice steady but firm. I've noticed some unusual financial transactions. Can you explain them to me? His response came quickly, defensive and sharp. Why are you prying into matters that don't concern you? It's none of your business. His tone raised immediate red flags. These transactions could affect your parents' welfare. It is my business too. Are you hiding something? I pressed, desperate for some transparency. Stephen's frustration boiled over. Stop interrogating me. Can't you just trust me for once? Trust you? I shot back. Your parents are dependent on us. If you're involved in something risky, it's my right to know. It affects all of us. Stephen waved me off. You're making a mountain out of a molehill, Carolyn. You always assume the worst. The tension in the room thickened. Don't you see? Your lack of interest in your parents, these mysterious transactions, they point to something amiss. We should be working together on this, Stephen. I tried to remind him of our shared responsibilities. He didn't budge. There's nothing to discuss, Carolyn. I'm sick of your accusations and meddling. Maybe it's best if I leave, he said, his words hinting at a drastic solution. Leave? I asked, stunned. You'd abandon your family just because you won't clarify something so simple? Is this who you are now? Stephen's patience had clearly run out. I can't stand your constant doubts and suspicion. If you can't trust me, maybe it's better if we part ways, he concluded, his words cutting deeper than any argument before. This confrontation laid bare the extent of Stephen's deceit and his diminishing involvement in his parental duties. His lack of transparency and growing detachment from his family only deepened the divide between us, making it clear that my vigilance was not misplaced. My decision to hire a private investigator had been driven by my growing suspicion of Stephen's actions, yet initially, the reports returned with mundane, everyday details, which left me feeling guilty. I wondered if I had made a rash decision based on unwarranted suspicion. Juggling my caregiving duties, raising my daughter, and dealing with this guilt, I eventually dismissed the investigator. But Stephen's sudden departure, without any explanation or communication, prompted me to rehire him. This time, I instructed the investigator to gather information quietly, keeping it on standby until I felt it was necessary. The decision almost slipped my mind, swallowed by the daily routine of caregiving, until Judy and Roy brought up their legal affairs, offering new insights. That's when I promised myself that if Stephen dared to return, he would face the consequences of his actions. True to my word, when Stephen returned, I was ready. He waltzed into our home as if his absence had left no lasting scars, ignoring his parents and barely acknowledging Teresa. His first words to me were demands for his share of the inheritance, as though nothing else mattered. Are you serious, Stephen? I asked, incredulous. Your first concern is the inheritance? No word for your parents, no acknowledgement of the pain your absence caused, just your claim to what you believe is yours? Stephen brushed it off, his tone dismissive. I left to pursue my interests. I'm back now to claim my inheritance. You should be grateful. Grateful for what? I retorted, my anger rising. Grateful for abandoning your parents when they needed you most? For leaving me to handle everything alone? You have some nerve. Stephen's cold response hit like a slap. You enjoy playing the martyr, Carolyn. I worked hard for that inheritance, and I have every right to it. Worked hard? I shot back. You call abandoning your suffering parents working hard? They needed their son, and you chose to turn away. He tried to justify himself, claiming they were well cared for with me around. It wasn't just my responsibility to look after them, he argued, I had my own life to live. What about our life, Stephen? I demanded. What about the commitments we made to each other, to our family? You've neglected us, betrayed the very essence of those vows. I argued, emphasizing the depth of Stephen's betrayal, but he remained unfazed, accusing me of overreacting and dismissing my feelings as mere theatrics. His complete lack of remorse for his actions only strengthened my resolve to stand up for what was right, for Judy, Roy, Teresa, and myself, no matter the challenges ahead. Stephen, full of entitlement, made it clear he would pursue his share of the inheritance, regardless of my objections. His blatant arrogance and disregard for the family's well-being were evident, but I stood firm. "Stephen, your true nature is now undeniable. Your indifference has hurt us deeply, but I will not allow you to exploit your parents. They deserve more respect and care than you've ever shown," I declared, determined to protect their legacy. "Good luck trying to stop me, Carolyn. You'll realize it's not that simple." "I always secure what's mine," Stephen retorted smugly, confident he could bulldoze through any opposition. His smugness was something I was ready to challenge, knowing his arrogance would soon meet a decisive blow. When the moment came to reveal the contents of his parents' wills, I watched as Stephen's smirk dissolved into disbelief and anger. His name was nowhere to be found, a testament to his neglect and the choices his parents had made in response. Enraged and blindsided, Stephen accused me of manipulating his parents, unaware of the full extent of his failings that had led to this moment. I kept my ace, the detailed account of his abandonment and negligence, close to my chest, simply requesting him to leave our home. As predicted, Stephen's frustration and wounded pride drove him to file a lawsuit against me, a desperate attempt to regain control and salvage his bruised ego. Throughout the trial, he spewed venomous lies, twisting the narrative to paint himself as a wronged victim. It was a calculated act to garner sympathy and manipulate the outcome of the trial. However, the strength of truth and evidence in a court of law is undeniable. The proof I provided painted a clear picture of my dedication to Judy and Roy through witness statements, medical records, and financial documents. The sacrifices I had made for their well-being were laid bare for all to see. As the trial progressed, the sincerity of my actions and the depth of Stephen's deceit became apparent. His fabrications unraveled, exposing the baselessness of his claims. One by one, his allegations fell apart, leaving him floundering in the face of overwhelming evidence against him. This battle wasn't just for the inheritance, but for dignity and respect, underscoring the value of truth and integrity against deceit and selfishness. But my pursuit of justice didn't end with a courtroom victory. The win alone wasn't enough for me. I wanted Stephen to fully understand the depth of his actions. When it was my turn to testify, I chose to lay bare the truth I had uncovered, thanks to my diligent private investigator. With a steady and strong voice, I detailed the years of neglect his parents endured, the countless nights I stayed awake ensuring their comfort, and the sacrifices I made for their sake. I painted a clear picture of Stephen's abandonment, emphasizing how he pursued his selfish desires over the welfare of his own family. Then came the revelation that shocked everyone in the courtroom. Stephen's so-called business trips and vacations were a facade for his affair with another woman. He had left his family in ruins for his own gratification. Stephen's defense scrambled, attempting to dismiss my claims as fabrications, but the evidence was overwhelming. Text messages, emails, photographs, and financial records all pointed to the undeniable truth. Stephen was left speechless, his secrets exposed for all to see. But I didn't stop there. My lawyer introduced a surprise witness, Stephen's secret partner. The moment she took the stand, the color drained from Stephen's face, a clear sign of his guilt. It became evident that Stephen had not been fully honest with his legal team, as his lawyer's expressions fluctuated between disbelief and disapproval. I had learned that Stephen's partner was none other than an ex-girlfriend from before our time together. Upon discovering her identity and her role in Stephen's double life, I reached out to her, and we conspired to keep her involvement a secret until the trial to avoid arousing Stephen's suspicion. She agreed to testify against him, revealing their rekindled romance that had begun 4 years prior, their living arrangement under the pretense of a job transfer, and Stephen's false narrative of an impending inheritance. In a dramatic turn, she confronted Stephen in the courtroom, discarding the ring he had given her and severing ties with him publicly. The entire courtroom was shaken by the revelations, especially Judy and Roy, who were already weakened by their health conditions. They were visibly distraught by the betrayal, engulfed in a mix of disappointment and grief. This unveiling not only condemned Stephen's actions, but also highlighted the consequences of his choices, leaving a lasting impact on all who witnessed it. The truth, stark and unforgiving, had finally come to light, offering a semblance of justice to those wronged by his deceit. Winning the case wasn't enough for me. I felt Stephen needed to truly understand the impact of his actions. So, I stood up in court and shared everything I had learned from my investigator. I talked about the sleepless nights, the sacrifices I made to care for his sick parents. Then I revealed that Stephen had left us for another woman, shattering our family for selfish reasons. Stephen's lawyer tried to deny my claims, but we had solid proof, texts, emails, photos, and more, showing Stephen's true actions. When his affair partner was called as a surprise witness, Stephen was shocked. It seemed he hadn't been completely honest with his lawyer. I discovered the woman was Stephen's ex, and I reached out to her. We agreed she'd stay under the radar until the trial, to avoid suspicion. On the stand, she shared how Stephen had contacted her years ago, saying he missed her. They got back together, and he moved in with her, hiding the fact that he was married and had abandoned his parents. He even lied about expecting a big inheritance from his parents. In court, she confronted Stephen, threw her engagement ring at him, and told him to never contact her again. This revelation deeply affected everyone, especially Judy and Roy, who were already weakened by their illnesses. They felt a mix of disappointment and sadness, seeing the extent of Stephen's betrayal.